Like I said, part 1 will be where we're focusing on escapism, but I thought we'll start with a breakdown of all the winners. Maybe all the couples, maybe I did at the end, I don't know, but we're going to focus on all the winners. Season 1, the winner was Jess Hayes and Max Morley. They won, but they broke up 6 weeks after the winning. Max is now a cricket player and also a father of a child that is unknown. Well, no, the child isn't unknown. The birth mother is unknown. Jess Hayes is an MUA, brand ambassador for Be Perfect Cosmetics. She also works for a charity called Goodbye that works with women that have lost a child. I believe she's lost a child herself. She had a miscarriage in 2020 and now she lives with her partner, which can be found on Instagram. Season 2. That's Cara and Nathan Messi. Still together with 2 kids. A 4-year-old called Freddie and a 2-year-old called Dowla. Yeah, they're a pretty wholesome couple if you ask me, actually. When I looked into their Instagram, I was pleasantly surprised by how wholesome they were. So I guess this theory that all Love Island couples are lies and fake doesn't apply to everyone. Season 3, Amber and Kem. Kem is very popular. I actually know Kem quite, not personally, but I see him a lot on my gram. Kem and Amber broke up shortly after the show. Despite that, Amber is now a actress working in projects like, well, she's working in a project called Back to the Future, but I think it's the Broadway one. Seems pretty good. Kem is a barber, TV presenter, owner of a restaurant that is temporarily closed. And what the food was, by the way, if you're just interested in when it opens, it seemed like a shisha grill kind of vibe. Kem himself is single. Amber, she's dating her co-star from the Back to the Future Broadway show. Is it Broadway? It's in theaters. And the co-star is Ben Joyce. Season 4, Danny Dyer, his daughter, and Jack Fincher, they split about 9 months after the show. Danny dated her ex, Sam, and they welcomed a child. I believe they actually broke up in 2021 though, but her and Sammy still co-parent. Sammy was arrested as well in 2021. She's now dated Jared Bowen from West Ham, guys. Decent winger. While Jack is one of the success stories from Love Island. He's been extremely successful as a public figure. He's partnered with McDonald's. He's represented by Off Limits Entertainment. Also got a boxing match with Anthony Taylor in Dubai. I'm excited to see that. And I think he's got a guest appearance in a movie called The Last Heist. Excited for that too. Then we go to season 5, which brings us to Amber Jill and Greg O'Shea, believe his name is. They broke up. I was personally invested in this one. I never bought into them. To be honest, I think they never got the chance to really blossom and develop their relationship, if you ask me. They did say they tried hard. Amber, I now believe, is dating, I don't know her name, but she's in an open bisexual relationship. Well, she's openly bisexual in a relationship. Her relationship's not open. Greg has returned to athletics and he competed in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics for Ireland. It was in 2021, the 2020 Olympics, but they kept the name for trademark purposes. Anyway, Amber, extremely successful in her influencer life, very much a public figure, has got TV appearances, other reality show appearances. So Amber is a success story from it, but her relationship, not so much. I don't know who's keeping count, but I'm going to put a tally up. And just goes to show half these relationships felt more than half. Oh, so only 1 out of 5 so far are still together. But they tried. Season 6, we got Finn and Paige. They're still together. I think they live together as well. They have a beautiful place in Manchester. Paige has continued her singing career, and she actually performed in the orchestra. She performed in Brixton O2 before it closed down, and that's a pretty big crowd. So she's doing all right. And she also was on Celebrities Love Trip in 2022. So she's doing all right. Season 7, guys. So we're now 2 out of 5, 2 out of 6. 2 out of 6 couples. Anyway, Liam and Millie broke up, but they were together for a year, moved in together, and unfortunately it didn't work out. That seems kind of harsh, but Liam is relatively out of the limelight, to be honest with you guys. While Millie has become a YouTuber, has a fashion and lifestyle beauty vlog, which is fairly popular. Big up her. Shout me out. Season 8, we got Davide and Ekinsu. I'm gutted. They broke up. I was really rooting for them. They're both somewhat still predominantly in the public eye, I would say, but I would still think it's a bit too early to judge their success, just from the sense that it's only been a year. So I'd give them a little bit longer before we can judge whether they've been successful post-career with Love Island. It's unfortunate to see them break up. As of recording, of course, they've broken up. But yeah, they haven't. And that brings us to this year. And this year we have Sam and Jess. We'll wait and see. The question is, why do we watch Love Island if we know love doesn't exist? And what I just illustrated before showed that these couples struggle to stay together. For the most part, most of them are broken up. Anywhere between a week to a year of being on the show. Davide and Ekinsu, to me, just seem to be together. It was so hard to verify whether they were still together. So part 1 is focusing on escapism. So I would argue one of the draws of Love Island, reality TV such as Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which I watch myself, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, X Factor, Big Brother, is the escapism. It's the removal from your own reality. Albert Einstein actually had a very interesting quote about this. Why am I quoting Einstein? Because he says something interesting about this. The desire to escape is inherent in human nature. We all desire to escape. I think I've got to say this off top because it's important to show, because this might, me doing this breakdown episode, me trying to express and understand the phenomena that is Love Island. I'm aware that the viewership is dropping, but it's still very much a popular show. I don't watch that shit. I only watched it to do research for this episode. Now I have watched episodes when I'm at my friend's house, when I was with exes. So I used to be one of those people that looked at Love Island as lowbrow trash TV. And when I was researching and I saw that escapism was one of the big factors into it, I asked myself a very important question. What else do we do that helps us escape? What do I do that helps me escape from everyday life? Because everyday life, no matter how great you're doing in life, has an element of mundaneness to it. And it comes to the dreaded sports. Sports trigger very similar emotions. For example, sports triggers very similar elements that reality TV shows do as well. Entertainment, depending on who you are, but yes, they both tick the entertainment category. Storylines hyped by the media, I would say so. Question you gotta ask yourself, do Liverpool and Everton players really hate each other as much as we believe? I don't know. Do Tottenham and Arsenal no, Tottenham and Arsenal fans do hate each other, but two Tottenham players and Arsenal players hate each other as much as the media hypes it up to be. I don't believe so, but it creates a compelling storyline that we all invest in, which is, you could argue, the same as Casa or more. The thing I hear a lot when I get these comparisons, when I made this comparison, I thought to myself, hold on, but football's embedded into my culture. I grew up playing football. I played football outside. I played football in Power League. I remember the first time I went to Power League. My mum dropped me there. It was the Power League in Norbury. Closed down now. I don't know what it is. It just seems like a fox infested. Anyway, like I said, football's embedded into my culture. Grew up playing it. Grew up watching it. And I asked myself, how different is that to Love Island? People grow up seeing their parents in relationships, so it's embedded into their very much the fabric of who they are. If they didn't grow up in that, they grew up watching people on TV in relationships, loving each other. I would argue the reason Love Island and reality TVs work so well is they play into the very simple but intimate details of our lives. Human connection. Love is an emotion that goes round. It's universal. So love is an emotion that people say makes the world go round. It's one of, if not, I believe, the most powerful emotion in the world. So to act like, because we grew up on football, that we didn't grow up on love and human connections as well, just because the way it came out was different, be a bit unfair to Love Island. Here's the bit that someone said to me when I was bounding the idea around about making the comparisons about football, sports, and Love Island. People train for sports. People work hard for sports. I'm not doubting that, but I'm more talking about the comparisons. I'm more looking at their similarities as opposed to their differences. I'm more looking at how we gravitate and excuse one, and we don't look at football as lowbrow, but we look at Love Island as lowbrow. While they both trigger interesting and visceral debates. Someone on Instagram had a very interesting take on sports and said that sports itself was a distraction to distract us from our truest purposes, distract us from uniting and looking at governments, looking at societies as full of shit and fucking us over. I don't fully disagree. Football itself is escapism as well. And someone who looked down on Love Island, I think it helped me understand Love Island and its hype a lot more and see the parallels more. There are differences, but they're more alike than they are different. But we look at Love Island as lowbrow. While they both trigger interesting and visceral debates. Someone on Instagram had a very interesting take on sports.
No job worth $2 million a year. That's why they pay athletes these fantastic salaries. I was listening to the radio the other day. They just contracted to pay one player on one team $6 million a year. Can you believe this?
And why is that?
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive? And when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor, he sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum. And he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. He has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world, so that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is, so they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being manipulated, so they don't ever question the emperor. That's why they pay a player on a football team or a baseball team $1 million or $2 million or $3 million a year. It is the Roman circus.
I don't fully disagree. Football itself is escapism as well. And someone who looked down on Love Island, I think it helped me understand Love Island and its hype a lot more and see the parallels more. There are differences, but they're more alike than they are different. Also with the comparison with sports and Love Island, competition. A bunch of people competing for love. If that is not as primal as it gets, that is as animal kingdom as it gets, I don't know what is. I would also say with Love Island and sports, it becomes like a universal conversation starter. It becomes this language spoken by people that bring communities, people together. I've seen people at work who wouldn't normally get along sit and talk for honestly way too long about this couple's more suited with this couple, and this person looks like a better match than this person. And I used to get irritated by it, I'm not gonna lie. But similar to football, it brings people together that may or may not normally be together. And also, I would argue, it helps you understand that other person more, their perspective on themselves and lives and the things that they kind of like. Some of my friends like high pressing football. Some of my friends like tiki-taka football. You seem to understand them better. Some people think these two couples work together because they're more aesthetically pleasing. Some people think these two couples come together because they've got a better vibe. What do you define as a vibe? I find it very interesting, and I think you actually learn more by seeing what people's preferences are for pairing couples up. Yeah, that's a little something that I learned while analysing this. And we have to look at escapism in this sense that escapism was James Bond, the books is how it started, grew post World War II when people were searching for escapism. That's why in pretty much every James Bond film, there's a scene in them in a tropical island. Does that sound familiar? There's a scene, beautiful beaches, beautiful scenery. There is an aspect to human life that needs escapism. And Love Island ticks that perfectly. And I would say this just as my final point about escapism is the thing that we all use, the thing that I use to communicate this video to you guys, the thing that I use to discuss ideas with people through majoritively, social media. What is social media if not an escape? And it's become something that is almost embedded into the fabric of society. There's LinkedIn, which is recommended for job applications. People ask for your social media handles. People promote businesses and grow businesses on social media. One of the biggest things in society today, social media, is birthed through connection and escapism. Maybe that helps us explain why Love Island and reality TV shows in general are so big. Point 2, the drama keeps us hooked. Let's be under no illusion. We love the drums. We love the drums. I remember watching Big Brother. I couldn't tell you the season, but we sure like watching people have drama and discussing how we. But I remember being hooked on to the character or person, Science. Why was I so hooked to Science? Science brought drama. Science brought conflict. Science said what he felt.
Leave me alone! No. You said your piece at the same time.
Yeah. But I was hooked because he brought drama. I don't know if anyone knows, on that same season, Makosi and Anthony, the scandal in the pool. Did they have sex? Didn't they have sex? She was allegedly pregnant. The early 2000s was a weird time. I remember there was one guy called Max, who was another one, just full of drama, full of opinions. Could go off at one time, could be really cool at another time. I was hooked. One of my favorite seasons of Love Island, season 5, full of drama. Full of drama. The Amber and Michael situation, I believe, put Amber as almost a guaranteed winner. Drama, adversary, makes us feel more connected to people, triggering emotions of empathy, suspense, adrenaline. Where is it going to go? It helps build the show itself, and it does it fantastically, to the point that the gimmick of Casa Amor is getting a little bit tired, because we know it's the drama point in Love Island. We have to ask ourselves this question. What is Casa Amor, if not incited drama? Now, a lot of former Islanders, former contestants on the show have said that the show isn't scripted, it's structured, and Casa Amor is the clearest example of that. Casa Amor is inserted drama. Casa Amor is that toxic friend that told you to go out and piss your partner off and get them jealous and see how they're going to respond. We buy into it because we want to see which couple's strong. We don't believe in love unless it's tested, unless it's proven its rigors of jealousy and temptation. Quite biblical in a weird way. Molly May and Tommy Fury. Do you remember when Moira joined the house? And the suspense about their relationship. Is he going to go to Moira? How much does Molly May like him? Same season theme going on here. We didn't even really believe Molly May liked him that much at the beginning. It was a debate anyway. Some people might have seen it, some people might not have. And I think it endeared us even further to Molly May and Tommy Fury. I think once that happened, there was no questions of Tommy's feelings and Molly May's feelings to him. It's unusual that it's in the test that we believed they loved each other. It was the moment of doubt that made us realize that they were made for each other. So far anyway, as of recording. You never know. But I find the drama testing the relationships, endearing us to the relationships, quite an interesting fact. And yeah, it keeps us hooked, line and sinker. And this brings us to our old friend Freud. Freudy? Sigmund Freud brought up the term catharsis. What is catharsis? Repressed emotion. TV allows us, reality TV especially, allows us to experience those repressed emotions through those characters. And that drama being cited, we may not like the drama in our own lives, we would respond in those moments. It oddly brings us closer together, makes us feel more empathetic to those characters or more disdain to those characters, depending in which way you want to go. But I would argue that without the drama, Love Island and reality TV shows in general wouldn't even exist without them. Would people have ever watched the Kardashians without that first initial drama of Ray J and then the divorces that have proceeded since? I don't know. Is there something innate in human nature that we need those drama moments, those problem moments, because our minds are always finding problems. And when we see something that doesn't have a problem, that appears alien to us. So the drama is the problem that we need. Who knows? But I know it's something that's hooking us to the TV show, despite its obvious failings. Part 3. Love. Obviously it's love. It's called Love Island. But the allure of love, the sell of love, is something that draws us all into things. Somehow in our modernist society, we've found a way to commodify love. One of the purest, most earnest, most powerful emotions. Capitalism for you, hey? The Matrix. Love is probably one of the most powerful emotions in the world. And love draws us in. It's called Love Island. Let's not beat around the bush. We're here to see people fall in love or not fall in love. But the question is, why do we watch if we know it fails? Not that we know it fails, but why do we watch when there's an extreme likelihood that it does fail? I would argue that it's due to our parasocial relationship with these characters. What's parasocial? Parasocial relationships are relationships that are developed from viewing people or a person and developing a strong emotional connection to them when that person doesn't know who you are. So typically these are people like TV characters, celebrities, reality TV stars in the sense of Love Island. And I think because of that parasocial relationship that we have with these characters, we have developed attachments to them, wondering what's going to happen, how is this going to develop. I believe these parasocial relationships are so powerful, so palpable, that it's why we accept some celebrity relationships we know to be PR stunts, we know to be market employees. It's why we get so invested in storylines with EastEnders characters. I mean, I remember, was it Bradley and Stacey? I remember being invested in that character, or those characters, so deeply that when Bradley's dad cheated or had an affair with Stacey, that I was genuinely moved. I was genuinely hooked. And that pull of love, that oxytocin, the love hormone, pulls us in. It pulls us in a way that it can be difficult to sometimes tie yourself away and realize it's just fiction. And I think that plays its part with Love Island. I think it plays a massive part with Love Island. I mean, if you look at the allure of rom-coms, and I have to put this out there. I'm not someone that typically likes rom-coms. I'm not someone that even really watched Love Island. I watched it here and there and then watched it for this. But love hooks you in, man. You just connect. And I remember the first time I watched Friends with Benefits, the Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake film. I remember coming in being the cynic, the fucking cynic I am. And I remember watching it and thinking to myself at the end, I don't even remember the character's name. I think Mila Kunis' character is called Jamie. But I remember leaving, and I remember halfway through just rooting for them. Just wanted them to make it work. And when they did break up, even though I knew they would get back together, couldn't wait for them to get back together. Couldn't believe how it ended. And it's one of my favorite films. And if you think I have bad taste in films, if you think I don't trust this taste, some of my favorite films are Inception, Godfather, Doctor Strangelove. So I trust my taste. And I was hooked just because of the love story. When I was researching for this, why do we watch Love Island if there's no love on the island? I love saying that, you know. When I was researching and I was trying to, because Davide and Ekin-Su, as of recording, broke up recently, I was a bit like taken aback. I was hoping that they were together. I was hoping to be wrong. And that's the power of parasocial relationships. It's the power of being so invested in people who don't know who the fuck you are, don't have a clue who you are. I was invested, I was hooked, and it's a pull. But I think the question that we've got to ask ourselves, the question that we got to extract from that is, I know they break up. Most of them break up. I've researched that they broke up. Why am I researching if Ekin-Su and Davide broke up when that was most likely the cause? Why am I so hooked to it? I started to ask myself the question, do I like the process of people falling in love more than the end result? And I think love is one of those rare things where people like seeing the boulder go up the hill, perhaps more than the boulder being on top of the hill. And whether it rolls down or not, we're just hooked to the story. We love rom-coms, Love Island, all these TV shows. Their sell is people falling in love, that chemistry that you see initially, that magnetism, that when they're looking each other in the eyes and making the initial jokes and seeing that there's chemistry, seeing their similarities, seeing where they're different, having to compromise. We tend to love that more than the goal. Is some of the hook to Love Island that, and the hook to us buying into it because of the love, is that love seems to be something that in this ever-growing internet social media society that is being removed. So when we see it in Love Island, it gives us hope, even though we know that they're most likely to break up. And we just can't remove the fact that the human brain is wired for narratives. The brain understands the world through stories, and love is like a connective tissue that brings stories together and makes them tangible, empathetic, sympathetic. It allows us to really mold ourselves into these characters. So maybe it's irrelevant that they stay together or break up, because more than anything, it gives us hope that one day we could potentially find love. And like I said earlier in the episode, the fact that there is drama, those who survive, like I said earlier in the episode, the fact that there is drama and the love is tested, does it validate us? Does it give us hope? I don't know. These are questions I'm just posing to you guys. You guys are guests on my guests on this episode. I guess how I'm going to conclude this part, is maybe this is a rare instant where the process of love is more exciting than the destination itself. Maybe in this capitalist society that we've commodified the process more than the destination. And maybe that's why Love Island sells. Maybe that's why it's become this cultural icon. And maybe that's why the success rate and the failure rate doesn't really matter. Maybe it's more about the little... I think maybe a big part of it is that we all view love as something that is rare, and that we focus more on the successes, the Carlas and Nathaniels who have a beautiful, wholesome relationship, Dami and Indiana, Molly May and Tommy. Maybe we focus on the successes because we ourselves view love as a diamond in a haystack, or a needle in a haystack. Do you find diamonds in a haystack? What? You don't find them in haystacks, but the diamond in the haystack. What? Why did I say that again? The needle in the haystack. Maybe we ourselves look at love as such a rare commodity that the fact that it fails proves the point that when we do see it, it is so rare. And its failings itself prove that when it does happen, it's got to be real because it's so rare. It's a question I'll leave back to you guys. I'd love to see your responses in the comments, your DMs. People blow up my DMs all the time with their nonsense, so please blow me up with this one. Social media. Fucking hate social media. To be quite frank with you, I think social media has more in common with the Industrial Revolution than anything else. I think there will be an era in which we look at a point in time, probably like 100 years from here, when we're all dead and buried. Just kidding. Where we look back at social media and we look at our world post social media and pre the existence of social media. It has absolutely changed the fabric in which we communicate, in which we interact, not just with our friends, but business wise, the relationships we have. We have so many more parasocial relationships that social media is something akin to the Industrial Revolution. It has more in common with the Industrial Revolution than anything else. The only thing I think that probably has more impact on our economy and our societies is washing machines. Look it up. And I think the pull with social media in terms of Love Island in this sense is that it's the FOMO. It's the fear of missing out. I think it is so tangible, the fear of missing out. And you combine that with our digital addiction. FOMO can lead to a state of almost compulsively checking your updates. Now, that was a quote I read from somewhere. And it made me call back a time when I was watching it with one of my exes. I said one of my exes, like I've got loads of exes. I haven't got loads of exes. But I remember watching it with her. I think this would have been, I'm not going to put a year to it, but I remember the season. So I think it would have been what if I don't put a year to it, then I put the season? That is putting a year to it, isn't it? Anyway, I remember the series really well. Every time there was an ad, she would go check on Twitter. And I realized she's watching it, but the whole feeling, she wanted to be a part of those online discussions, community, something we're going to mention later. And it made me realize that social media and the way we interact on social media is another form of indirect marketing for Love Island. That pull, it is like a vortex if you're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you're pulled in. I know quite a bit about Love Island, not because I'm heavily invested in Love Island. It's because of social media. There's no avoiding that. Social media has put Love Island in so many people's faces that ordinarily may or may not have watched it, that it is just an enormous pool that you feel that you're missing out without it. But sadly, with social media, all the fun and discussions in the community, watching influencers, the fairly shallow but unharmful part of it, there is a dark side.
Love Island, and after it, I nearly ended it all. After a period of time, I was losing like thousands of followers overnight, and I was literally thinking, what have I done to upset this many people? Why does everyone hate me? It was there 1 minute, gone the next. It was probably maybe 8 months after the show. Then I started having like proper suicidal thoughts. At the Caroline committed suicide, I got an email from ITV. And it was basically like, oh, we're just checking in, making sure like your mental health's all right. I'm not taking anything away from her death, but before that, 2 contestants committed suicide. It doesn't matter if they think that there could be a pattern of suicide in the show, yeah? It should be like, okay, someone from this show has committed suicide. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Don't act like you care when you clearly don't, because if you did, you would have prevented and shown support previously. I didn't like it that they valued someone else's life more than another's just because she was a household name. That had importance, whereas the contestants that had passed away before or committed suicide, that's like, oh well.
And just as that clip showed, social media, the parasocial relationships, or parasocial relationship, I believe it's called, that we develop with these characters, these contestants online, the discussions about it, sometimes in real life, sometimes online, I think it's a disorientated feeling for those contestants who come from relatively normal lives, relatively, not as recognizable as they are post the show. And many contestants have discussed suicidal thoughts, there were suicide attempts, we'll get to, depression, anxiety after leaving the show. That's why quite a few have returned to go back to their normal lives, questioning whether the influencer life is really real or worth it, I should say. Caroline Flack, Sophie Gordon, Aaron Armstrong, and Mike Tillistis. Apologies if I've mispronounced his last name. I probably have. I'm terrible at that. And I just have to be honest with you. The Caroline Flack situation, incredibly complicated, incredibly multifaceted, but to have 4 suicides after the show, despite what the anonymous contestants said, that they contact you and see about your well-being after the show, it's just disappointing. It's just as disappointing, and I don't blame ITV as much. I do think ITV's attempts at well-being checks seem to be, from what he said anyway, as cheap box ticking attempts to cover their own back, other than really care for their contestants. And turning back to social media, it's a vacuum of ideas and any thought without any check-in, without any processing of whether the thought should be discussed. It creates this toxic vortex for so many people. It's great marketing for Love Island. It creates influencers, which creates jobs opportunities for people. Can never be mad at that. But far too often it turns into its darkest form, and that's not just its cheap and shallow attempts to sell us things continuously. Its darkest form is where human beings spend time just knocking each other down without any consequence. And we've had the suicides. Again, if anyone's ever felt like that, please get some help, talk to some people. No one is alone in this shit. Trust me. And I've seen that dark side of social media myself. It ain't pretty. Not easy, dog. It's crazy not to mention that social media and going viral is a key aspect of marketing, and the way that Love Island have dominated that 16 to 36 year olds has just really helped their virality, and it'd be strange not to mention that. I think I forgot it, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, the pull of social media is one of the biggest reasons as to why Love Island is watched, despite its, well, questionable track record with relationships lasting and darker side of suicides leading to depression and anxiety. But is that just a figment of reality TV? Is that just a figment of fame that has been something that's been going on since before social media? And maybe social media has just done nothing but enhance that. I do know that a lot of contestants, like in the Channel 4 documentary, have struggled post-show as well, because they thought they were being sold the dream that they were going to become influencers, and the realities are oh so different. I kind of spoke about it. Many other people have, and one talent agent did say that it's only like 1 in 10 that really make it and become influencers. As good as social media is in driving in traffic to a show, it does have some pretty dark ripple effects, I guess. But like I said earlier, it is something that is quite new. It's still in its elementary. How old is social media really and truly? 10, 15 years old? Doubt it's even 20 years old. So do we know it's true as effects yet? We're just seeing it's getting darker though. But hey. 45. Community. Kind of makes sense after social media, because what does social media do? It creates an element of community. Community at its core. What is community? What is community to you guys? Let me know. Put something in the comment section. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Community is a very pure thing. I read a quote somewhere that really highlighted what community meant. Community is a sign that love is possible in this materialistic world, where people often either ignore or fight each other. How Love Island has commodified that and turned it into a money-making scheme is hilarious. Capitalism. But that's what it's all about. Some of my favourite moments of Love Island isn't the show itself, it's seeing people's reactions online, the jokes being made, and watching it with my friends and talking about it before the show, during the break, after the show. That actually is the best part of Love Island, the discussions about it. The show itself, sometimes I find anyway, a little bit boring, but I admit I'm not the target audience for it, and I had to basically force feed myself to watch it in order to be able to do this episode. But hey, I find it funny that I created this episode to break down why do we watch Love Island? Why do we watch Love Island when most of the relationships fail? Why do we watch Love Island when there's no love on the island? And I thought, because we love watching it with people. The show itself is just the centerpiece. It's the people being around it, and it's the discussion it's been able to spark out. Everything else to me seemed to be revolving around that. That community was the thing that binded all those themes together, and that's why we watched it, because of the community behind it. We love watching Love Island with people that we either love, grow into love, or extremely close with. And we love the fact that, like I said earlier, can we find that couple that's the needle in the haystack? And even more importantly than that, we love discussing it with people that we love. And I kind of felt like that's what Love Island was all about. And exploring ideas of love and human psychology is very innate to our human nature. And as I was studying this, I started to develop a softer spot for Love Island, and I thought it's something that has tapped into the very core of what human experience is about. And in the end, I thought, perhaps what Love Island is selling is the problem, but the feelings that Love Island tap into of community, togetherness, exploring love, the drama not so much. It's not so bad. Maybe if ITV did it in a way where it was more earnest and more actually trying to find the perfect couple. What is the perfect couple? What is the right couple? It's just your favourite couple that really wins. Maybe I wouldn't have such a hostile pullback to it. But bringing people together over a fairly innocuous, vain show ain't the worst thing in the world. But those failed relationships, maybe they're more to do with reality TV than anything else. But hey, and it'd be weird not to mention this without saying that Love Island is facing somewhat of a decline. I think in large part because of the oversaturation. It's been around for a while now, since 2015, and they have a winter show, and maybe creating that winter show, it lost its summer buzz because it was very much seen as a summer show before that. But Love Island, like many other reality TV shows, have tapped into some core emotions of what human beings like to do, how they interact, and how they navigate the world. And that's truly why it's still here. And even if it does fall away and disappear, a quote from Marvel, I think it was actually Captain America Winter Soldier I first heard it. Maybe it was some other movie. Anyway, cut the head of the snake to come up in his place, referring to Hydra. I think that's reality TV shows. Cut the head of the snake, 2 more reality TV shows come in its place. It was Big Brother before, and X Factor. Now we've got Love Island, Couples Go Dating. There's one on Netflix that I don't know. Many more will spawn because they tap into things that are the most innate to us. And the most innate part is the community it creates and the discussions it leaves us having. And it's a discussion about our favourite topics, ourselves. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for tuning in. Even if it was just one of you, I hope you got something from this discussion. I hope you leave a comment. I hope you subscribe. I hope you stay tuned for the next episode. It should be dropping a lot sooner. Should have a faster execution rate, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Faster execution rate, yeah. But thank you. Share, like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I'm out, bruh.
I can be a baddie and a lady. Don't do shit unless it pays me. Can't let no man play me. Couldn't give a toss if you lot hate me.